Hi everybody, I'm Alameda County Supervisor Nate Miley. I'm here now live streaming my state of the county and my state of District 4. This is my first time doing this, so I don't know how this is going to work out, but hopefully you'll like it. And if you don't like it, then I ain't doing it anymore. But we're doing this because it's important that we have a chance to let my constituents know what's going on, to share some information with all of you about the county and about my district. We want to stay connected with you. You can always contact my office and my staff. In fact, I got a couple of them here now with me as I do this live stream. I want to thank all of you for tuning in to this live stream and encouraging me to do this. What I'm going to be doing initially is kind of looking at the big picture of the county. Then we'll kind of talk about some of the county initiatives, and then we'll go down to District 4, some of my local priorities. Now, please don't get bored or discouraged as I talk about the big picture, because there's some information that I want to try to get out. Some of you might know this information already. Others of you will find it very informative. Now, let me just first of all say that Alameda County is one of the larger counties throughout the country. There are about 3,200 counties in the nation, and we're roughly number 20. Our budget is roughly $3 billion, and that budget comprises public protection, public assistance, general government, and also the budget looks at capital improvement, and we have one other category which we consider healthcare, and that comprises the county's $3 billion budget. Our budget last year was about $108 million deficit. We've had a deficit for like the last since 2000. But we've always managed to balance our budget without laying anyone off, without cutting services, and always meeting the needs. The county's discretionary budget is about $700 million, and that's 25% of our overall general fund. Many of you might not know, but on every dollar that is collected in property tax, the county only gets 15 cents of that dollar. Now, in terms of the county's budget, 65% of our budget comes from state and or federal sources. Most of our funding is categorically mandated. And so it's important that we look at what's happening to the county on both the federal and state level. The county is in good health financially. We have a prudent reserve, and we have very strong fiscal policies. Our finances are stable, and our credit rating is solid. We have one of the highest credit ratings that can be offered by the credit rating agencies, Moody's and Fitch. With a good solid credit rating, it does allow the county to be able to borrow at a low interest rate. In terms of the economic forecast that the county might be facing, unemployment remains low, which is a good thing. Also, the current economic expansion actually matches the longest in the post-World War II history. But there are other factors that could affect the county, like we don't know when there'll be another recession, and that's an important thing to take into consideration. In the county, most of our resources are used to provide services to vulnerable populations, reentry population, seniors, at-risk youth, others who are in need. The federal government recently had a shutdown, but fortunately that was resolved by our officials back there in Washington, D.C. But as a result of resolving that shutdown, and it's been resolved only temporarily, we know that the Senate Majority Leader, McConnell, has promised that the Senate's going to take up this whole issue of immigration and look at DACA. And that is extremely important. And I applaud the U.S. Senate for looking at this. But they need to act. They need to move on this. And the reason it's important to the county because we provide services to immigrant populations. And our services to immigrant populations, we're doing that irrespective of what happens at the state or federal government level. We're doing that. We've provided more resources to help immigrant populations with understanding their legal rights and helping them with services and things of that nature. So if the federal government can get this issue resolved, it will definitely help the county. In December, the president signed the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. And that has, implications. The corporate taxes are going to be cut, and large earners are going to receive a tax break as well. It's going to cap state and local tax deductions. And it's going to repeal the individual health care mandate. I'm hoping that as a result of this doesn't have a significant impact on the county, but we'll see how that plays out. Additionally, at the state level, the state continues and the governor continues to be focused on a rainy day fund, which is extremely important. But with the state focusing on the rainy day fund, the governor is emphasizing caution, prudence, and preparation. And that, in a way, is good because we don't want the state to be in a financial crisis, because often when the state's in a financial crisis, who has to pick up the pieces? The cities and the county. And so it's extremely important that we continue to ensure that the state has the resources to provide the services that it needs to provide, and passing those resources on to counties and cities. Local factors. The county, through our retirement system, is looking at the discount rate going from 7.6 to 7.25. Now you might wonder, well, why is that important? Because with the discount rate going down for retirement, that means that the county's going to have to pay more into retirement. That's good for the because we want to ensure that our retirees can continue to get their benefits, but we just going to have to put in more money now. And that's money that we won't have for services, but we have to do that, and we want to do that. Another factor is in-home supportive services. And the reason that's important is because there are a lot of folks that are disabled and older adults, and that population continues to grow, and we want to make sure that that population, that vulnerable population, has services, and we have people that can take care of them. And so making sure that there's resources for in-home supportive services is important, and the cost for that is expected to compound over the years to about 7%. And that doesn't even include wages, which is dependent on labor negotiations. There are other factors that the county will be looking at, and I think I've pretty much covered some of the stuff I wanted to talk about in terms of the big picture with the county. But I want to, before I leave this whole part of the discussion, and I hope you're still with me, even though I gave you some statistics, I want to talk a little bit about some of the county's major initiatives that I think are at the forefront. One of them is the sports teams. We are in the sports business. We've got the Raiders, we got the A's, we got the Warriors. And we know the Warriors are leaving. And we know the Raiders are leaving. And we know the A's are trying to look for a site. Now the thing is, we're still working to see how we can accommodate the A's at the Coliseum, which is our preference. And if possible, how we might be able to, if we can't retain the Raiders, how we can get an expansion team. Because that would be important to the local economy and the robustness of the city of Oakland and Alameda County. So we are really pursuing that as let's just say we're doing our due diligence around both of those areas with the A's and the Raiders. And the Raiders, when we talk about the Raiders, we're talking about the NFL as well. So the sports is one big item. Another big item is children. The county's looking at an early childhood initiative. We call that ECE. And now let me just bear with me for a moment. Let me just tell you a little bit about why we're doing this. Because there's a readiness gap. In 2016, only 44% of Alameda County children entered kindergarten fully ready for school. There's an access gap. 69% of Alameda County children with working parents don't have access to space in a licensed child care or early education facility. There's also an affordability gap. $17,000 is the true cost of high-quality child care preschool education for 3- and 4-year-olds. But in 16-17, only roughly $8,000 was being reimbursed. And that's about a 46% portion of the true cost. And then finally, there's a wage gap for child care providers. 75% of the child care providers and early educators worry about paying monthly bills. 54% worry about putting food on the table. 47% of early educators rely on one or more government assistance programs. So with our early childhood education initiative, which I'm very confident the Board of Supervisors is going to put on the ballot, we're looking to raise about $140 million if the electorate approves this come June with the election. With that $140 million, this will help to address the early childhood education concerns for the most needy county-wide. Some of the program areas include, we're looking at decreasing the waiting list. We're looking at improving wages and worker supports. We're looking at competitive grants, and we're also looking at high-quality programs. Now, you can get much more detail on this by contacting my office, because we'd be more than happy to talk to you about this and letting you know what we need to do. And if you're not convinced about early childhood education, let me just say, if a child receives that type of nurturing at a young age, the likelihood of them being a productive member of our society increases magnificently. So we need to invest in our children. We need to invest in our children with early childhood education. So that's one of the other major initiatives that the county's pursuing. Let me talk a little bit about what's going on in terms of some of my priorities in District 4, and some of those priorities might even mirror some of the county-wide priorities. Well, before I talk to you about District 4, let me also, some of you might wonder, well, what's District 4? Supervisor District 4, the district I represent, goes from Oakland to Pleasanton and includes also the unincorporated communities of Ashland, Fairview, Cherryland, and Castro Valley. Each county supervisor represents over 300 and maybe 30,000 people in the county. That's my district. It's a very diverse district, complex district. It goes from the left of the political spectrum to the right of the political spectrum. It's a complex district, and it requires a lot of attention. And I try to deliver that attention with my staff. Our motto is, we deliver service. Now, in terms of District 4, we've got some major initiatives that I'm pursuing. One of those initiatives deals with housing and homelessness. That is a big problem, and hopefully most of you recognize that. We see these encampments. We see people sleeping out on the streets. We need more affordable housing. What's the county doing? What can the county do? Well, thanks to all of you, we passed that ballot measure in 2016. We've got nearly $600 million of funding that we can put into affordable housing. This would be to help house low-income families. They would also be used to help provide housing that's worker appropriate. This would be both rental and permanent housing throughout Alameda County. We're also, in terms of trying to address the housing and homeless problem, looking at tiny homes. A tiny home, let's say about 200 square feet, can be very, very inviting. I live in a tiny home. It's like being in a dormitory. You have your own kitchen, you have your toilet facilities, you have your sleeping facilities, and tiny homes can be and we're not talking about sheds, and we're not talking about, just something that's kind of just thrown together. We're talking about something that's quality. But a tiny home is a lot less expensive than building a big structure or even renovating a big structure. We can get tiny homes up and operational in about 6 months. So we're really looking at tiny homes. And part of that tiny home strategy includes working with the clergy. Often churches have a lot of excess property that's going underutilized. And so we're partnering with the Interfaith Council of Alameda County. We're partnering with First Presbyterian Church out in Castro Valley. We're looking to work with various churches to utilize their properties so that they can help provide housing and services for the homeless. And that's another part of our strategy. Also, with our strategy around homelessness and housing, we're looking at housing resource centers, opening them up countywide, with a common assessment tool that would allow us to assess why somebody's homeless and how we can help get them out of the condition of homelessness. We're putting more resources into providing services to the mentally ill, because some of the people that are homeless have issues. And we're looking to provide more outreach workers, more navigators. So the whole housing crisis is something that needs immediate attention. We're not going to solve this problem overnight, but there are steps we can take immediately. Another step that we can take is with our warming shelters and centers. Instead of just having them open during the winter, have them open year-round. I think that would be very important. Let's go on to another big-ticket item, illegal dumping. That's another major item that I'm concentrating on. Illegal dumping is not just an issue in Oakland, it's a regional issue. It impacts the quality of life. And I've been concerned about illegal dumping for quite a while. And I've been talking with folks around illegal dumping. We've met with StopWaste.org, which is an organization, government organization, that looks at trash and recycling, to kind of come up with an educational public awareness campaign. We're working with the sheriff and the district attorney to put together a regional task force, similar to a gang task force, so we could have a stronger enforcement arm as relates to illegal dumping. We're looking at maybe rolling out a pilot program in Oakland to look at how we can target certain highly impacted communities around illegal dumping. Working with organizations like the Beautification Council. Thank you, Ken Houston, for all you do out there. We're working with the downtown street teams. They hire folks who are homeless, and they get them, and they go out and they pick up litter. And that's a good thing, because the homeless get stipends for doing this. They also get to share, they get services, and they get to give back to the community. And it's a good thing. So working with organizations like the Downtown Street Team. Thanks, Julia, for the work that you're doing in that respect. So with illegal dumping, we are looking also at something that was brought to my attention by the City of Oakland, particularly Council Member Rebecca Kaplan, medallions, so that these small haulers, just like taxi cabs have medallions and permits, these small haulers would have permits and medallions. Why do you say that's important? Well, it's important for this reason. If you as a consumer want to hire someone to haul some stuff away, you don't know if that you don't know if that hauler is just going to dump that stuff. But if they were permitted and had a medallion, you would have a better sense of confidence that that person would not dump it. And if they did dump it, then the consequences would be on them. So we're looking to see how we can better regulate that and not make it, onerous on a hauler, but at least have a sense of knowing who's doing the hauling out there, the small haulers. Another big ticket item, though, that we're working on is I've brought on a consultant who used to work for Waste Management, so he knows the insides. And he's going to work with us on the franchise agreements that the cities and the jurisdictions have with Waste Management and other major haulers, so we can come up with provisions, model provisions that could help to address this issue of illegal dumping through the franchise agreements. One thing might be to tinker with the bulky waste aspects of the franchise agreements, so that maybe there could be vouchers made available to tenants or to apartment dwellers, because we find a lot of abuse with the multi-unit dwellings. That's another thing. So there's a number of things that we're looking to look at relative to illegal dumping. But not to be remiss, I just have to say this. When you see mattresses that are dumped on the side of the road, doesn't it get you upset? Well, mattresses can be recycled, or they can be picked up as a bounty. And so we're working with the Mattress Recycling Council, the Beautification Council, and others to try to go out and make sure that illegally dumped mattresses are being picked up, that mattresses are being recycled, because mattresses are just like bottles. They can be taken care of, and we can recoup them with some resources. So we're working on that front as well. So in addition to, before I leave this illegal dumping, a lot of times people think illegal dumping is a problem of the encampments. Well, yeah, we do see a lot of dumping at the encampments, but sometimes that's because those of us who want to help the homeless, we bring them clothes, we bring them food, we bring them other things. And a lot of times the homeless take that, but then they don't know what to do with it. And they might discard the leftovers from the food. They might leave the clothing out. And so it's important that we look at sanctioned encampments so that we can get the homeless to be at locations where we can come in and provide toilets and sanitation facilities and provide services and pickup of garbage and things of that nature, so that these encampments are not so unsightly. And we can look at how we can help the homeless have a leg up and not just a handout. In addition to illegal dumping, housing and homelessness, another thing is cannabis. Now, cannabis, Prop 64 made cannabis for adult use legal in this state. So we're looking to see how we can best regulate cannabis to ensure that it's not abused, and particularly as it relates to our young people. We don't want our young people to be using cannabis before they're legally allowed to use it at age 21. Cannabis, we're asking, weed can wait. Weed can wait. And we're trying to encourage young people to look at it that way, to understand that by using cannabis, it can affect and retard their development and their energy and their motivation. So we're putting together a public awareness campaign around that to educate parents, to educate adults, to work with young people, to work with the broader public. We're also looking at regulating cultivation, looking at regulating dispensaries, looking at regulating manufacturing, looking at regulating deliveries, looking at regulating this industry, because it's indeed an industry that we need to regulate and ensure that it goes about in a proper fashion, and a fashion that minimizes the possibility that will affect the public good. We are not naive enough to think that there won't be issues associated with cannabis, just like there are issues associated with opioids. There are issues associated with tobacco, issues associated with alcohol. But we can learn from those other substances and see how we can do a better job with cannabis. And that's what we're trying to do. That's another major item of mine. Then a few other things just to kind of wrap it up. Seniors. Seniors remains a big passion of mine. I've been working with seniors since 1986. I've been working with seniors so long, I got to be a senior. And so when I got to be a senior, they elected me to be the president of the United Seniors of Oakland and Alameda County, an organization that works to empower older adults throughout this county so we can improve the quality of life for seniors, older adults throughout Alameda County. So I am steadfastly committed to doing everything I can to ensure the quality of life for seniors. We've pushed an older adult, county-wide, comprehensive, integrated system of care for older adults throughout this county, and we're working to ensure its implementation and its sustainability. Additionally, from seniors, we're also looking at issues around violence prevention. I've been pushing a violence prevention initiative through the county that we've embraced and worked on, and now we've continued to target violence prevention, because any form of violence in Alameda County is repugnant, and we continue to work on aspects of violence prevention throughout Alameda County, and at the moment our focus has been on particular areas in East Oakland. Governance continues to be a concern, particularly in the unincorporated area, and I have an Eden Area Livability Initiative that works to look at governance. Just recently, the Board of Supervisors approved a Fairview Municipal Advisory Council. This gives the people of Fairview an opportunity to have a little bit more local control. Castro Valley has a Municipal Advisory Council, and we're looking to see if we can create one for Ashland, Cherryland, and San Lorenzo. All those continue to look at better governance in the unincorporated communities, because if these communities, unless they become cities or get annexed into a city, the county is obligated to ensure that they get quality service. So those are some of the big things. I've talked for quite a while. I don't know what you think about all this. I don't even know what I think about it, but we're doing it. And if you like what we do, let us know. Call my office. Get involved. Get engaged. We can't do this on our own. We need your help. Our motto, once again, is delivering service. That's what we try to do I shouldn't say every hour of the day, because we got to rest. We got to take some time off. That'd be a cliche if I were to say every hour of the day, every day of the week. Who's going to believe that? They just think I'm another lying politician, but I'm not going to tell you that. But we do try to deliver service to you to the best of our ability. So we encourage you to stay tuned. If you like what you heard this evening, maybe I'll do more of these. If you don't like what you heard this evening, you don't like this, I don't know if I'll do any more of these. My staff talked me into doing this, so we're going to give this a shot. You can always reach my office by calling 272-6694, 272-6694. You can visit my website. You can follow me on Facebook, on social media. And I really appreciate you just taking the time and listening to me tonight. And with that, I'd like to say good night, farewell, and once again, have a pleasant, great 2018. Thank you.